to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. Thanks again for watching, and we love having you as our viewership. Before we jump into this week's tip, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. Welcome back. We've got a great show on tap today, and we're going to talk about an article by Travis Bradberry, who talks about how to distinguish good workers from great workers and how to figure out what distinguishes a great employee and how do you figure out who's a great employee out there. It's a tough one because a lot of managers will say, oh, it's their personality, but personality can mean so many different things. Let's jump in and review some of Travis's great tips as to how you can find that diamond in the rough and that great employee. Tip number one, they're willing to delay gratification. One thing an exceptional employee never says is, that's not my job description. Instead, exceptional employees work outside the boundaries of their job description. They go above and beyond and they forge ahead with their work. They're confident that they'll be rewarded at some point, but they don't care when that reward comes and they're not looking for the praise right away. So look for someone who's willing to delay gratification as one of the top tips for finding those great employees. Tip number two, they can tolerate conflict. Exceptional employees don't seek conflict. They can also tolerate it. They don't run away from it either. They are able to maintain composure when they're presenting while being calm and logical as well. And they withstand personal attacks that unfortunately happen sometimes in the pursuit of a greater goal. And they never use those tactics either. So look for employees who can tolerate conflict. Again, no one wants it, but occasionally it's going to happen in the workplace. Tip number three, they can focus. And it's so funny when we talk about focus because student pilots are often taught, don't forget to fly the plane when things go wrong. And what do they mean by that? Well, plane crashes actually result when sometimes pilots are concentrating on what's wrong and they forget to actually fly the plane and they're focused on identifying the problem. The same thing happens with the work environment. People are so focused on everything else that's going on, they get distracted by cranky customers or inter-office squabbles or people wanting to switch to a different brand of coffee, just something silly, and they can't focus on the real problems that are out there. Employees that are great put the noise aside and then focus on the real problems as opposed to the background noise to ensure their success within the company. Tip number four, they're judiciously courageous. Exceptional employees are willing to speak up when others are not, and they'll ask a difficult question, whether it embarrasses them or it's maybe to challenge an executive, depending on what the right thing is. They are willing to disagree and commit, and it's so important to do that. And they do that with a balance of common sense and timing as well, knowing when it's appropriate to and when not. And they think before they speak as well and choose the best place and time to do it as well. So think about being judicious and courageous. Last tip, they're in control of their own egos. Exceptional employees have egos. What drives them though is not their ego. It's they never give their ego more weight than what is deserved or what the team deserves. And they're willing to admit when they're wrong, which is so important. And they're willing to do things someone else's way, which is a hard thing to do at times. Whether it's because the other way is the right option or because it's the best way to maintain team harmony, they're willing to go out of the way and check their egos at the door. Thanks again for watching this week's EQ video tip. We'll come back next week with the other half of this show with the other 5 tips that Travis has for us as well. Take these tips and, of course, make them yours. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself.
Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.